Welcome back to another episode of Road to William. Today we are reviewing a throwback classic film, Paid in Full, 2002 film. Uh, and before we get into that, I'm gonna introduce my cousin Ashley from Ivy Ball and Basketball Show. For those that don't know, it's her sports channel where she focuses on basketball highlights, WNBA, NBA, sports, and movie documentaries and movies. So you'll see me over there too. But Ashley, tell them a little bit why they should tune into you and where to tune into you.
YouTube channel, Ivy Ball and Basketball Show. And you can follow me on social media platforms at Ashley Ivy Ballin. And I also have a Facebook group. Share sports news or debate, different basketball takes. Everything that has to do with basketball.
Lit, lit. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this film. I've never seen it fully, so this is my first time fully watching it. Didn't realize one of my favorite actors in the game, Regina Hall, was in it, and I'm like, huh, what? And so, um, and I didn't realize that this film came out in the 2000s. I thought it came out in the 90s. I'm gonna give it a look, but it gave it so much a 90s feel that you feel like you were in that era they're portraying, which was the 80s though. Which went into the 90s. I like how in Sinners, we see a different visual of Paid in Full, I think. Um, because in Sinners, we saw the transformation when you decide to connect with your ancestors through music, through culture, through, the connection, and you see the connection different ways and how everybody's impacted too. But in Paid in Full, you saw it in a different way. What is the word? It was so relatable that you kind of didn't see it in the same way as Sinners. Like, but that money in the air, and we could talk about it, what your point of view of that money represented, but that money in the air, he kept seeing that before the music videos. He just kept seeing this money in the air, which was a dope shot. But what did you think that money in the air meant? And what did you think of the
Um,
film? Watch. I don't know if you've seen it before watching overall, but what did you think of the film? But also, what did you take from the money we kept seeing throughout the film?
well, yeah, I did see it before. I always had like a closet or drawers full of movies, and Rockefeller, they started making movies. They made like Paper Soldiers. And so I definitely seen it before. I guess it wasn't my favorite because Sonny had died, so I was like, "Oh, it's not my favorite, but uh I what I thought of the movie, I just thought, temptation. Money is the root of all evil. That's what I took from the movie, because everybody wants the bag. They want the cash money, they want the women, they want the jewelry, they want the cars, they want everyone to see them. And so, Ace I thought Ace should have just stuck with the dry cleaning job. And I feel like there was temptation everywhere because you see other people, bling blinging it, ching chinging it. Sometimes that's what happens. You think,
And hmm
you think, you think everything's gonna go right. You think you're not gonna be the one to get got.
hmm
But in terms of the money in the air, I think it just symbolizes the money was coming down slowly, so in my eyes, it was like, well, the money, it could be a downfall or, you know, like the money is going to come and go. I think Ace should have just been focused on the right type of money, not just getting money, but
Yeah.
just be a hard worker. Like, just stay
Mhm.
clean. Hey, get it? He worked at the dry clean and just stay clean, Ace. Oh, man. But yeah,
Yeah, I I also thought that it was a good comparison to like the book Rich Dad Poor Dad because I feel like Pip and Lulu represented the rich dad poor dad aspect. Like Pip was the uh I don't know. Maybe that's not a good comparison. But it gives you a like different way to get this money, but it focused more on a negative aspect. But like do you how do you want to grind out your money? There's risk with everything. Like, yeah, if you go Pip's route, who was played by Shy McBride, who's really good. We saw him in Roll Bounce, playing the father for, Bow's character. And amongst the other things, but that was a good he played a really good job in that film. It's really good. But Pip, I noticed there was a scene where when Lulu and Ace was working together at first in the beginning, he was giving them like little dimes, little bits of it. The white, And that was going unnoticed. He kept it tucked. But as soon as Lulu started giving Ace more power, more m- money and control, the rock, started getting bigger. And he couldn't hide that anymore. And Pip finding it just showed that like how big he was getting and that he was trying to keep Ace from going that route, but he realized like, dang, they done got him. Um, how did you feel about that relationship between Ace and Pip and even Lulu?
I thought Lulu was just he had a great apartment and he would, Ace would drop off the laundry. I think I think Lulu was actually just tempting him because he knew he worked at the dry cleaning. So he was like, maybe he'll find this in my pocket. And he was like, hey, if you find this in my pocket next time, just keep it. I think it was just, temptation, because if you said, didn't you say it was like a breadcrumb or something like that? Sometimes when, you put some food down with for your dog, they eat it up and then they want to just follow you for some more. But I think that was just temptation by Lulu, and Ace fell for it because. But I did like Pip because Pip was a hardworking man, and if you notice, after Ace went that route, um, with selling drugs, you didn't see Pip no more in the movie. You didn't see Pip in the movie anymore. And that just shows you, hey, go on the right route. Because Pip could have easily said, I told you so, but he just went back to, his business. Because Ace it was a grown man, making your own decisions. But I feel like Lulu, he was just what the type of man he looked like the type of man Ace wanted to be, have the good apartment, look nice and fresh, but he didn't look like the black type of fresh. But I think Lulu was just, temptation. And Pip was just if you looked at Pip, he wasn't dressing really fly or nothing like that. He was just a guy doing his, best. But some people don't want to live like that paycheck or an honest living. People want the risk and it's just, and that's why in the beginning, they're like, who did this to you? I did. Yeah, you did, Ace. Yeah, you did. Because you knew the risk and he tried his best, though. Ace tried his best to make sure everybody was happy around him because he knew if you make everybody else happy around you, then there won't be a lot of egos. But then it started to get bigger once Mitch got out of jail and brought Rico in the picture. Oh boy. I'll let you I'll let you, get to Rico. I got a lot to say about Rico.
Yeah, I thought it was dope how they started off telling a story about their friendship, how it started off. Um, a lot of it reminds me of like Get Rich or Die Trying, of like someone goes to prison and they get out. But they like that scene where like in Terrence Howard and 50 Cent, they met in prison with their characters and then they got out. But it was the opposite. It was like Rico, he was loyal, but like he stabbed him in the back, and I feel like Terrence Howard's character wouldn't have stabbed 50 Cent's character in the back. Um, but Rico was like that. He was almost like the Tommy, like in Power. You know what I mean? That you can't really control him. Even like in Goodfellas. I don't know if you've ever seen Goodfellas, but there's someone whose name is Tommy, which is funny. Who's kind of like that, going berserk. I think his name was Tommy. Yeah, I think. I might like that. But yeah. So I liked how they explored their friendship. I like how detailed they were with Mitch's character, how he cleaned his shoes, laced them, how he was very organized, and that he didn't have to be in that business. Like if he was in anything else, any industry, he would definitely succeed and rise. But it, like you said, it's like it's not what catches people's eyes, not what persuades them, motivates them and stuff like. But I think it was we can break down each character. Like Ace was trying to grind, and now he got a baby on the way, and I like how he was chill. Like he wasn't really trying to be outside. It was him and Keisha at the crib trying to build a life, and it was just sad what happened to his sister and his mom because this is what you was grinding for, and when you take part of that away, the grind don't even feel right. But luckily he had his kid and his girl to keep him pushing. But I think if they all would have got, he would have been done. Like it took so
Yeah,
many lessons. What were you gonna say? Yeah, what do you think
I
about
was
Ace?
confused about that scene with the women because I was like, I thought the girl, Ace's girl, got in the bed because I didn't see their faces. I knew one of the girls was like a neighbor, like Annalise. No,
Hmm.
that's not me. Why am I thinking of that? Her name was Elise Neal. That's her real name, and she played June. And they was using her house to do the drugs. I know she was the one that got, but I thought the other girl
Oh,
was Regina Hall. Then I saw
hmm.
Regina Hall, saying,
You like
"Oh,
what's going on?
Nick is dead." So I was confused. I thought Regina Hall was dead. So I don't know who that other lady was. I
That was yeah.
was
I don't
that the
know.
sister?
Yeah, because remember, this is how I knew because I was kind of conflicted too. But I remember seeing the girl's boyfriend who was robbing him. He was really conflicted about shooting him at first because he was looking at her and he started crying. But that's how I knew it was like, oh, that's the sister. But I thought it was the mom to them. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know who that was. Right. Y'all tell us in the comments who was that second person. The fact that he survived the end, I was looking that uh, they said this film portrays a character named Mitch based on Rich Porter, who was a drug dealer who was killed during the robbery. But I want to explore that. I don't know how deep this goes, how many like base because sometimes they could base a bunch of different stories in that one. You don't know really who they talking about. But they said one of them was Rich Porter, so I want to dive into that. But do you have any history?
You know, like you said,
Um,
people, you can't really, sometimes you can't base stuff off people's lives because then if you make a lot of money, they be like, I want some credit, you know,
mhm.
like Hustlers, a movie that Jennifer Lopez
Oh
did.
yeah, I remember that.
I guess she wanted to sue Jennifer Lopez or something. So you
Hmm.
can't really base stuff on people's life. It's
Right.
best to just take pieces from other different experiences, but I don't know much
Mhm.
about the background.
But I want to get into Mitch's character. How'd you feel about Mitch? What did you think of him?
I liked Mitch, a young Mekhi Phifer. I liked it, Mitch, but that whole family, I need to get into it because Mitch, uh, I did like him. He was a good friend to Ace. He liked to be flashy, but something that he said stuck out, and I said, Mitch, you have the wrong mindset. He was on the couch with Ace, and Ace got out the hospital and stuff, and he's uh, uh and Mitch was talking about, hey, I feel like a basketball player. Everybody loves me, and instead of shooting the hoops, I'm giving them what they want. And it's like he loved to be seen, and he felt like people loved him, and it's like, no, they don't love you, Mitch. Come on. It's like he thought he was a basketball player and the hood was his fans and the hood loved me and he wanted to show out in front of everybody. And I'm like, you got the wrong mindset. They don't love you. They love what you got and they don't want to take what you got. Mitch, come on, Mitch. But
He was an
Mitch,
opportunity walking because he walked into the prison like being a little known anyway. So he was already kind of like it wasn't genuine from the jump. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Rico only helped him in that fight because Rico knew who he was, and Rico probably thought, "Hey, I can be his little sidekick when I get out." But I feel like Ace and Mitch they were real friends because they like grew up together. But coming out of jail, you don't know a person who a person is. Like Love After Lock, that show. It's like, oh, I'm in love with a prisoner,
I
and then
love that
when they
show.
get out, it's somebody else. So,
Tony. Yeah.
so
Tony.
Mitch,
Oh, yeah. Um, Mitch, I really liked his character. Like you said, he's a really good friend, really good brother. I was kind of confused. I'm like, is that his son or his little brother? No, no, no. But maybe that was his little brother, right? But he kept him so tight. But maybe that's how little brother. I don't know. You can't even answer that question. But
I don't think they were brothers.
you think that was his son? But where would was his
What
girlfriend? Not June.
are you talking about? You think Ace and Mitch were brothers?
No, no. Sonny, Sonny and Mitch.
Yeah, that's his son.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I was like, but at first I used to be like, is that his son or is it little brother?
No, that's his son. And I
Because
want to
who
get
was?
into that. Oh,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I want to get into that. This movie, it's another, it's another, one of the lessons in the movie is don't trust anyone because you can't even trust a uncle, an uncle, and you know, the uncle was jealous of Mitch because he felt like, oh, you should give us this, and you should give your mama this, and I'm like, and then he made up this whole thing about Sonny being kidnapped, and then you have the guy that ran the store, you have him kill the boy. Are you guys kidding me? This is money is the root of all evil. Because if you can't even trust a uncle, then yeah, yeah, you got the little boy's finger. So now he left with 9 fingers, and he probably all scared and stuff. Like, why my uncle do this to me, and where my daddy? And Maybe they both up in heaven together, you know. But I'm just
Uh,
like the uncle and the mother is worried sick, you know.
oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, are you guys kidding me just for some money? Are you guys kidding me? I just don't understand this. That's why I
Yeah,
think when I was a kid, I didn't like the movie because Honey died. Oh yeah, so
that's
I
facts.
I remember watching this as a kid. I said I don't like, and if you notice, I was like Mick. I mean, Mekhi Phifer, he a good actor because
Mm.
when Sonny was missing, he was crying in the car, and I was like, oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
felt that. That was a good acting scene.
That's a good
But
point. It was a
yeah,
lot of good. It just felt like it wasn't acting, you know? They were just, and that's what it should be. And I love that relationship that they had and how vulnerable they could be with each other as men. Because the stigma is men should hold everything in, even in times like this, people are hurting, and it's like, well, you should have that space to hold for you and your homies or whoever, your family and whatnot, to be vulnerable. And I think his uncle, Mitch's uncle, and them just couldn't get to a common ground. But the uncle should have known better, just being older. He should have known better to sit down and really talk to him and have a conversation on why their relationship is strained. But I get why Mitch is like, no, you're not helping out in any kind of way. It's like you aren't even doing the bare minimum. You're like getting high in the bathroom, like as he's just sit with the kid and watch some games, play a game with him, get some cards out. Like when we was watching, go check out. I don't know when you drop it. Whenever Ashley drops Chi Town documentary, go watch that and then tune into the conversation with us on her channel. It was what I loved about one of the things I loved about it was like a family aspect, and they would always just sit around the table and just play cards. Kiefer and his family, they would all just sit down, his sister, his mom, his dad, and they would just have a good time laughing and just being. And I think they needed that in that household. All households need that, something to come together, whatever it is. But they didn't really have that. Like, damn, you can't even sit the room with him, talk to him, go hang out, go outside. He's a kid. He want to like get that energy out, but
take him to the park.
something. So, but he was down outside judging him like, oh, at the store, like, oh, what you doing for the family? Like, just because you sitting in the store don't mean you really doing it. Like in Baby Boy, he was like, I just leave the house and come back like I've been working. Like you sitting at the store and not doing, and it's like you have a whole kid at the house. Like anyway, I didn't like that either. That it ended up really being because I thought it was Rico's too, but maybe I think it was mixed. It was like he had a hand in it, but like it disgusted me that it was the uncle who was doing that to his own blood. So, but let's dive into Rico's character.
Oh
How did you feel
boy,
about Rico?
Rico. So annoyed with him. Hey, shout out to Cameron. Dipset. Oh boy.
Yo, them were the hits. Them were the hits.
I remember having that CD.
Yeah, you had. I remember listening to it. I was like, let me borrow that real quick. Put in my CD player. He had the fresh. Uh, he had the fresh fur
Pink coat.
on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
I
mink
think
coat.
he had his son on the cover.
What did you think about Rico?
Rico, Rico, Rico. I don't like Rico. First of all,
Damn.
you just only protected him because you wanted to just hitch a ride on his wagon when you got out. So you weren't really genuine from the start. And also, if you're gonna just kill anyone, right off the bat, and you don't even know him, you're just gonna kill for him right off the bat. You're too dangerous. He should make sure to just hit some. Have a friend that's more calm, like Ace, because even Ace was telling him, you need to chill. Calm down. He was too out there. He was just too. out there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he liked the attention too, but he was drawing too much attention.
Right.
But and I don't like him because when Ace wanted to get out the game, he was like, "Nah, you gonna give up all of this." But what I don't like about him is this: killing someone in your own crew, that's terrible. That's like, Tupac killing that one dude in Juice. It's like you don't kill someone in your
This.
own crew.
Right.
He was trying to kill people for them. Then you're like, oh, I'm, and I think Rico misconstrued what was going on. Like, I don't even think his brain, really developed what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
He was jealous because Ace gave, Mitch some of the keys to sell, but he mainly did that to get Sunny back. Like, come on, dude. He's not trying to go behind your back and make deals with Mitch. And first of all, they're more tighter. Mitch and Ace is more tighter. So Rico, you're the third person in the crew anyway. But I think he was just jealous because Mitch got the keys, and Mitch, his son's missing. That's what he's trying to get the money for. He's trying to get the ransom. Don't you understand that, Rico? Don't you understand? And he didn't hesitate. Oh, you got the keys right there. He didn't even think about it. Boom, shot, and then you know just deaded him. And he need the money to get his son. And guess what? Now the ransom wasn't paid. And I just think Rico was an opportunist. He was just hitching his ride. And now not only are you not loyal, he was just a terrible, terrible human being. And who knows why he was even in jail for. But I'm just saying, where's your loyalty? And then he's not heartbroken up about Mitch. He's just saying, "Yo, Ace, why you didn't tell me about that? Why you didn't tell me?" Like, that's why he was
Right.
mad. You didn't tell him about the keys. It don't concern you. He trying to get, stuff from his, son. And Ace don't even want to be in the game anyhow. So I
Yeah.
just did not like Rico. I did not like him at all. He's dirty, 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 and he got what was coming for him. I'm glad he was in
Mm-hmm.
jail, and yeah. And if you notice, Ace could have easily killed him, but instead he went the route of, just setting him up to go to jail. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's how Ace is. He wasn't in the business of killing folks. He's just, let's get this money. And Rico was just hot headed.
Yeah.
And you can't have hot heads because in a split second they'll do something stupid and not even regret it. So I ain't like Rico.
Yeah. Rico's character was a lot. You know, it's like, where could you have put him in society outside of the streets? Like, he was very energized. He could have been some motivating other kids to do something better with their life. I don't know, but he wanted to get back out there. He saw a way out. He took that route, and he wanted to do his own thing eventually. I did think he was trying to be like this number one spot, but it was like, well, nobody really wanted. But without the connections from Ace, like, you starting from ground zero, no matter how long you've been in the street, no how many years or how many things you did, like, it didn't matter because you didn't have no direct connection. And then I think also Ace seeing Lulu like that, kind of like, he really had to figure out how to get out of the game too, because it was like, he one of the top dogs. He the one got me on, and if they taking him out, they'll take me out in a hurry. So he had to strategize. But what was some to close out with? What did you take from the film? Why do you think people should watch it?
I think the takeaway from the well, there's different takeaways. One, don't trust nobody. You know, you can't trust people in your crew like Rico. You can't trust your own family like Sonny. Also, the dude that was the man in the beginning, he was dating Ace's sister. You can't trust him either because when he got in jail, he got out and he wanted Ace to like, hook him up. And then Ace was like, "No, you just got out of prison. Cops is on you. That's why, I don't want you to run, I guess, the block by himself." But he was like, "No, I want to do it by myself." And I think that's when it started getting too big. When Mitch, if it was just him and Mitch, it would have been all good. But adding Rico into the mix, that's a big ego. And then the Ace's sister's ex boyfriend or whatever, he wanted piece. Well, actually, not a piece, a lot of pieces. You know, Sonny's uncle. It's just you can't trust anyone. And another takeaway is all money ain't good money. Money is the root of all evil, and dirty money. It's terrible, terrible. And even if Ace hooked Rico up with his connect, it wouldn't have worked. Rico is such a hothead. Those
Yeah,
people would have been like, "You want us to work with Rico? You want? He's crazy. They wouldn't want to work with him."
that's like Rock with that one dude from that restaurant, the little brother, and he'd be like, "What should I paint my walls?" And Rock trying to keep it together, like that's why she was like, "Marvin, you got to handle him," but Marvin didn't do it right now.
Oh
Look
man.
out for our Raising Kanan um review coming soon.
Oh yeah, yeah, coming soon. And
But yeah, it reminded me of that too. Like, yeah, it wouldn't have worked because you have to have a certain maturity level as
yeah,
well. Like, it's more than just like moving like, you're moving up. So then it's like you haven't even really locked it down to the next level to even get where we at. So, but I think Ace was also trying to get him out the game too. Like, let's do something else. Let's figure out something else. But they didn't want to do that. I think if Mitch would have got his Sonny back, I think he would have been down to like revamp his life in a more positive, different direction with Ace and build with their family together. Maybe move different location. I don't know. Build from where they were at. I don't know. But
yeah, cause
mm,
they both had children, and like when Sonny got out of no, when Mitch got out of prison, he did notice that his son was like into like what he was into, like not drugs, but like looking fly and the cars and stuff. It was like you just focus on school. But it's kind of hard when your dad is. You know, Eventually Sonny would have figured it out. Like, oh, my dad's selling drugs. Let me do that too. And even the uncle said, "Oh, he gonna follow in your footsteps." But one more
mhm.
thing I wanted to say was there was a lot of warning signs for Ace even before he got into the game. He still got into the game, and then there were warning signs when Lulu died. He could have just said, "Oh snaps, Lulu died. Let me get out." But he went to try to get another connect. You know, he went to that store where Lulu and him did like a drop off one time, and so it's like because he needed another connect. Lulu was dead. That's a sign to get out right there. Lulu dead, but he still went to try to get another connect, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
because if he would have just sold that jewelry somewhere, kept them diamonds, sold them, kept the old diamonds, don't just sell. They might get better over time, but I mean, they was like, that's why they was like, well, why are you doing this? I wouldn't have gave him nothing.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have
Because
gave
I
him
think
nothing.
there was enough drugs in his apartment, I think, to get out. sell those drugs, then get out. I think there was, right? And oh, I think he he gave him some of the diamonds and he kept the rest. Yeah, so after the movie and he was seeing Mitch, but Mitch was really dead. He was just laughing. Because they was at the movie set and stuff. He was looking at the movie set. He didn't give him all the diamonds because some was in a black bag. He kept some of them for himself. So that was smart.
Oh, that's good. I
Um,
missed that part.
yeah,
I like that scene. If
yeah.
you're talking about where Mitch was in the crowd, because a lot of times I hear today too, like, what would you be doing in the civil rights movement when it first started? It's like whatever you were doing today, and so it reminded me of that where he would, if he was still alive in that time, 90s, 2000s, like, what would he be doing? Still in the mix? Probably one of the best promoters. Is probably um. So yeah, they could have amped it up like that. Yeah, that was a good film to watch. I think people should watch it just because it's a classic. Good music. You see some OGs in the film, in the making. Yeah, good story. Good shots. The clothes was on point, fitted. Good shots of New York. But yeah, thanks Ashley for tuning in, for coming on the channel and discussing Paid in Full with me. And we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.